Happy Monday, you little nickel-plated nut sacks. It's about that time again. You been eating cat cocks all weekend, huh? You been cracking open a crusted can of cat cocks? Well, meow. It's your boy, about to Sherpa you up this mad mountain of Mondayness. You guys ready? Do you think I have Michael Landon on my shirt? Well, welcome to This Past Weekend. This past weekend. That like when everything's going like in the movie, like when the couple is, they're out and finally everything's going great. It's like the third date and it's just a montage and they're dancing and like spinning each other around in the rain and like, listen. Got the third date in the books and now we're bowling and kissing and trying on our bowling shoes and laughing and like punching each other softly, soft punches and doing stuff like that, or if you take maybe two squirrels. I don't know if you ever spent any time around squirrels. They're basically a very short ferret, but with a tail on it, kind of. And they're exciting animals. They're animals that I don't want to say they're beautiful animals, but I think I'll sit and talk with you about them all day. They are a very enticing species, the squirrel. But yeah, this seemed like if a couple of them were just kind of in the trees going nuts. Listen. Just kind of running around and like grabbing like acorns and peeking out from behind the other tree and like scurrying up the branches. There you go. That's a little bit of Cambridge twang. That's the song right there. And we are here with you. And this is Monday, June 5th. And welcome to This Past Weekend. I appreciate you guys joining us today. But you already knew that. I have a feeling that you already knew that because I let you know all the time. I'm coming to you live for now on this Mondays of June. And that means summertime is coming right around the corner. The solstice is coming up. I believe that's June 21st or 22nd. And that should be is that the longest day of the year? Yeah. So if you got, if you got a friend that talks a lot, I wouldn't hang out with them on that day because you're liable to be out there, out and about, having to listen to them a little bit longer than usual. So I'd, spend that day with people who don't talk too much and who are, just who you like to have fun with. You don't have to really listen very much, as much or more than you should. I'm in Pittsburgh, coming to you live from a Courtyard Marriott, very basic. You could call it a hotel. It's kind of a motel to me. There's a kind of a very girthy sort of Indian or Middle Eastern man downstairs who I'm going to go out on a limb and say this fella wants to do sex with me. He keeps baiting me downstairs, saying that the printer is fixed, and it's broken. And then he's like, oh, whatever. He's British as well. And he's like, oh, whatever am I to do? I'm just jeepers creepers. And the night shift, the people that work the night shift at hotels, man, I mean, they're either cool as fuck or they are fucked up. Because I have seen both types, man. I have seen both types, dude. One guy took me back in this baggage room where they kept a bunch of baggage one time, and he had a German Shepherd back there giving babies birth. Whelping, they call it when they're giving birth like that. This German Shepherd back there giving birth to baby animals. Little baby German Shepherds, you know that. So I just don't know what the fuck is going on, honestly, at some of these places. And I'm sorry to get fired up out of the gate and use this language, but, you know, I've been out here in Pittsburgh for 4 nights. Good city, but I'm on the outskirts. You know, I'm out here at one of these malls, and this is the kind of times when, in a comedian's life, dude, it's not great. It's not great. I want to go home. I'm tired. But with that said, I had some joy this weekend. You can look on the YouTubes. If you're on the YouTubes, I got a gentleman that makes some of my shirts, this gentleman, Kevin Best, and he showed up and made me some beautiful shirts, man. So that's really, really cool. And this one is of Michael Landon, who, you know, I've always thought of as like a television prophet actor, you know, who really kind of led or tried to help lead everybody in a positive direction before he died of cancer, and cancer got him. Dude, I'm starting to wonder, like, what diseases are we going to have from this technology we have right now, you know? Like, we don't know anybody who has hit 65 years old and who's been on a phone, on a cell phone for 40 years. We don't know the effects. We don't know the effects of a lot of the medicines that we're on right now. I mean, what if at, 70 years old, somebody who's been using a cell phone for 30 years, what if their fucking eyeballs fall out of their head? Huh? What if that's one of the afflictions? And then you got a bunch of people running around with no eyes or walking slowly and being angry at Verizon, but still addicted to their phones. How crazy is that going to look when you have a guy with no eyes in his head, and you're like, what happened to you? And he says, sorry, I can't talk right now. I'm on the phone. Even though it's the phone that did it to him. That's where we're headed, guys. We got some great callers that called in about, one I'm going to leave us with today. A caller called a few weeks ago about the future, and I'm going to leave us with that one at the end of the lineup today, so you can see what you think. He had a good point, a good topic that I want to lead us into, and we can talk about that. But first, I want to tell you about here in Pittsburgh, man. I'm here. It's been a good time. Pittsburgh Improv. Had some nice people came out. The Neon Nightingale, he came out. You guys remember him from some of the previous episodes, and that was pretty sweet having him out and about. Got to meet him and his lovely lady. And they got a child that they left somewhere at home under the care of someone else. So that's the proper way to do it. But I've been in Pittsburgh all weekend. It rained today. That's about the most exciting thing that kind of happened to me. Spent time with my buddy's family. What else? I had a lot of lovely fans that came out, man. Lovely fans and friends. I'm going to tell you where I'm going up soon, and then we'll get into the news, and then we're going to hit into some calls and emails from people, from listeners, that we're going to offer some basic life suggestions, people that hit the hotline. I'm going to give you that hotline number right now, 985-664-9503. And the cities I'm hitting soon, Nashville, Las Vegas, Orlando, Calusa Casino in north of Sacramento, New York City, Stark County, Illinois. So those places are going to be coming up, as well as Addison, Texas. That's in Dallas, or outside of Dallas, that second week of August. But all those other cities are before the end of July. You can find them at theovon.com/tour, TOUR. As well, I got the new album that's out now, Musket Fire, The Early Years of Satire, and 30-pound bag of hamster bones. Both those are available right now. Check the tracks and make sure that you don't already own the album, though. I'm happy to be here with you guys, man. I'm happy to be here with you guys. Bill Cosby case is starting today. You may know that, you may not. To me, I think that Bill Cosby is guilty. Do I think he's guilty of copulating with however many those women are? I don't think he's guilty of all of them. Just based on my experience in LA, I easily see how when one woman sees that something's going on, others will jump on. And it's not just a woman, people. Oh, they're doling out money over here. Let me jump in. There's a lot of hot ass out there in Los Angeles. A lot of gold digging, trifling women out there just trying to make a buck. I'm not even talking feminists. These aren't feminists. These are Rottweilers. Okay? These are them cooter Rottweilers, and they're just barking around with that crotch and trying to get that money, stack that paper, But I don't think that Bill Cosby will be convicted. I think he might be convicted of some civil charges, but I think he'll be the O.J. Simpson of vagina, and that's my theory. There you go. There you have it. I believe that. I think he'll get off, and I think he'll be the O.J. Simpson of Poisson. Onward. More news. Kathy Griffin, everybody knows this, the bloody head she held up. I'm going to say this. And some people think like by even talking about it, you're creating publicity for her. I'm not creating publicity for Kathy Griffin. She's the only comedian that I've ever gone to their show, a full hour, and I didn't laugh. That's a true story. This is about 7 years ago. I went, or 8, could have been 8 years ago. I didn't laugh at all. She's not for me, her type of comedy. I get it. But I thought that this was just hack. I thought it was just, you're holding up a bloody head of the president. Get a life. You've made your money in this country, and show some gratitude. You don't have to show it to Donald Trump, but show it to the fact that that's the president for right now. That's who the president is. And I don't care who it is. I think that as an American, you have some responsibility to at least just go along with it. And I just think she could have come up with something much better or funnier. To me, she's not funny. And to me, I just thought that was un-American. That's kind of the feeling that it left me with. And I'm kind of just sick of all the Trump. I think the Trump jokes are just hack. It's like, we get it. Like, you don't like him. Okay, great. I voted for Obama twice. I wasn't a huge Obama fan, but I was inspired by what he was talking about. I think Obama did some good. I think he was a great example. I also think Obama was kind of a pussy when it came to a lot of stuff, to be honest. Sorry to use that language. I felt like he didn't really have any balls, I don't think he did a lot to inspire Black America. For me, that's just my perspective. You're like, well, Theo, you're not Black. You're right. I'm not. But I can still have a point of view. A lot of my Black friends have felt the same way. I think he's a great speaker. I think he's a great orator. I think he sounded amazing, no doubt. He looked good in pictures. Beautiful family, beautiful daughters. Probably a great hoopster. But to me, he was all talk. He was more of a celebrity than he was a man. I would look at him as more of a celebrity than I would as a man. So I don't know, the Kathy Griffin thing, I just didn't laugh, It wasn't funny to me. I think she's more of a loudmouth. And maybe she was a comedian at a time, but I've never seen her in a comedy club. Never seen her in any comedy club anywhere, except for the one time I went and saw her at a theater. And part of that's, I'm just sick of the un-American attitude. Like people saying that, oh, this country doesn't represent me and stuff like that. Like, maybe I'm old fashioned or something, but like, I feel, hold on, the air conditioner just came on. I got to shut it off. All right, I'm back. But I feel like if you live in the country, you cash your checks here, then have some gratitude, Have some freaking gratitude, If you don't like what's going on, then find some ways to change it. Be part of the solution, Shut the fuck up and contribute, all right? You don't have to make it better. You're not going to make it better by acting like you're not part of this country. If you don't want to be part of the country, then go. Go out for a few years and come back. Nobody's doing that. You see what I'm saying? Everybody's anti-America, but they're not leaving here. So it just kind of makes me upset, And you can say, well, Theo, you're naive. You still believe in some type of an American ideal or American dream. I don't know how clearly I feel on some of that. But I do feel like we're fortunate enough to live here. We're blessed to live in this country. We should act like it. We should act like it. And if something we don't like, find a more constructive way than just by sheer hatred, I just don't get it. Bill Maher dropped the N-word. That's a little more news there. I thought with Bill Maher, in comparison to Kathy Griffin, at least Bill Maher, that's him. You know who he is. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't live in a world where I know personally hundreds of people who you would think never use the N-word, who I hear use it. I'm not going to sit in a world and pretend that that's the case. People use it a lot, They don't use ER, but I hear NIGGA all the time. And I don't condone it. I don't think it helps. I do think it's a derogatory word, right? But I believe that it's going to take time for us to get it out of the vocabulary of humanity. And I think that today more kids learn it today from music than they do from racist channels or influences. How do we defeat it? For me, I think that you take it out of music and you let time pass. You just need time. But also, that's just my thoughts on it. Some people are like, you're white, you don't get to comment on it. And that's understandable. If somebody takes that stance, I might maybe almost agree with them, That's a weird ground. But I think with Bill Maher, you just know who he is. That's who he is. He's the kind of guy who drops a wild joke like that, who is not afraid to use a word like that. I'm not surprised. I mean, Bill Maher is he's spicy, he's derogatory, he's always misogynistic. I think in a way he's kind of like a Trump in a way, And I'm not saying that he's a horrible person. I don't know the man. But I'm saying that I feel like at least you get who he is. You're not shocked. I don't know who was super shocked by that. Like I know people on Twitter get angry, but Twitter angriness to me, not even real. Twangry. If you're twangry, that's not real. That's fake. If you just sit there and tweet something and then do nothing about it or have no, it's just, to me, it seems really, really fake. But as compared to Kathy Griffin, you have no idea who she is. You just think, oh, she's just this Muppet trying to make some weird splash, and it didn't go well, and then she's blaming white people, and just give it up. You seem to have led a pretty privileged life, and she just seems to have no gratitude for that, and that just pissed me off. And you don't have any idea who Kathy Griffin is. She's this snarky kind of early Perez Hilton sort of. She was kind of like a human TMZ that just told these weird behind the scenes stories about celebrities that I never thought were super funny. And then she just like kowtowed to the gay community for her fanship. But Bill Maher, I mean, that's who he is. At least you're like, oh, that's exactly who he is. Kathy Griffin, you're like, what the fuck is this? This lady's out of her mind. Anyway, so those are some of my thoughts on the news. What else is going on? I mean, they had the tragedy over there in England. I don't know what to think about that kind of stuff, I mean, it's crazy to think that you want our military to get involved in things because it's just kind of scary, But yeah, I mean, I just, my thoughts and prayers are really with those people who, are dealing with their children and having to deal with that. And I like thoughts and prayers. Some people don't like them. I mean, to me, all a thought or a prayer is, it's hope. It's a moment of meditation. It's a moment of you trying to express good energy towards people that need it. And to me, there's a ton of value in that. People are always like, thoughts and prayers don't solve anything. I disagree. Surely they're not going to make you a sandwich. If you're thinking and praying for bologna and cheese to meet in your kitchen, you're dead wrong. But if you're thinking and praying that the hearts of someone who's hurting could find more comfort, I think that things like that can really occur. So I believe in some of those things. We got the hotline, man. I'm going to get right into it because it's late, bro. It's late for me. And I don't want to live like this, dude. I don't want to live up this late. I just want to get some rest. To be honest, I got a flight in 4 hours and 50 minutes. I'm flying out of Pittsburgh. So let's get it in. I'll say this on the hotline, that number again, 985-664-9503. The first one, we got a message that came in. This was a text, and then we'll get to some calls. Theo, Austin here, texting in from the University of Central Missouri. Your last podcast, you said you attended 6 different universities. Next year, I graduate and start the process of paying off my student loans, and was wondering how you handled all your debt, if you had any, and any advice as I jump into the real world with loads of debt. Thank you. You're the mother effing man. Here's what I say about student loans, young buck. Austin, named after a city. I've always wanted to have a daughter named Chicago. I thought that'd be a neat name, or maybe a son named St. Petersburg. But here's what I want to say about student loans, dude. Don't worry about that. That's my thought on it. I mean, because you can get your student loans down to where you're paying like a little bit of money basically over the rest of your life. You know, I've been out of school for 15 years. I refinanced them here and there. I basically have paid. There were times where I didn't have to pay anything, where they gave me some, a period of grace period. But otherwise, I probably paid $100 a month for about 15 years. But you know what? Don't worry about that shit, dude. Because if you worry about small stuff, then you live small. That's one thing I've noticed. If I could go back in time, if you worry small, you live small. You worried about all that small shit, dude, if you're worried about that small shit, you will never make a stink, man. That's what I'm going to tell you. You got to worry big, dude. You know? I mean, think about this. You might get in with a company in 5 years and not have to even pay your student loans. Some companies, when you come to work for them, part of the contract is they pay off your student loans. I mean, there are real possibilities like that in your future. So for you sitting there worrying about that $100 a month, I promise you will be okay. That doesn't mean go out and drink every night and not take care of yourself and not have a job, but find employment and worry big, you know. I'd worry about how am I going to own a rental property in 5 years. That's a bigger goal, man. I'd take on a bigger goal like that. Set a goal like that instead of these. If you're worrying down here, you're living down here. If you're worrying up here, you're living up here. So I'd get up there, man. That's what I'd say. You know, don't look at it as, oh, I owe $150,000. That's huge. That's crazy. Look at it as, oh, I owe $100 a month because I borrowed an education and I got to pay it back. Don't waste the education, man. Just get out there. Stay busy. Stay busy. A man should always be working. I used to live with a friend of mine, and his dad told me that. It's one thing he told me. He said a man should always be working. I mean every day, but I mean you should have a job. Good luck out there, Austin. All right, let's get to a call here. Let's see what we got.
Hey, Theo. This is Alex in Atlanta. Just giving you a call. Love the podcast. I wanted to get your advice on a roommate situation I have.
This is Alex in Atlanta calling about a roommate situation he has.
I live with a good friend. Recently moved in with him, but I'm having trouble sort of adapting back to having a roommate. He's sort of a kid who comes from money and seems to never really have had any responsibility in his life. I'm quite the opposite.
Okay, so he moved back in with a roommate. It sounds like he didn't have a roommate, and now he's moved back in with the roommate. He's having trouble adjusting to that, and the roommate is maybe more of a silver spoon type of boy. Like he's had types of things given to him onward.
Got a full-time job, have since I've been in high school and worked for all my bills, and I've just it's kind of been a struggle for me, sort of not kind of being an asshole to him and coming off as a prick of a roommate. But it's just one of those things where, he sleeps all day. And, the few responsibilities I give him to benefit the two of us.
Oh, wow. So he's saying that, it's hard for him not to be a prick to his roommate. But then you say, Alex, I think it was Alex, you said the few responsibilities you give him. So it seems like your take on this, it seemed like you're having trouble adapting to being in a roommate situation, dude. Because if you're giving this dude, if you're like giving demands out of him, it sounds like you're not going to, some of those things you're not going to get, I mean, if you're expecting him to do all these things and expecting him to live a certain way, he's an adult too. He might be set in his ways. It sounds like you're more angry that you have to now live with someone. To me, here, let's hear the end of this real quick.
Two of us as roommates, he just, takes forever to do anything and just never really gets anything done. But just, wanted to get your advice on that. I appreciate it. Love your podcast.
All right, man. Thank you so much for calling in about it. So you got the new roommate. Here's what I think, man. I think I don't know if you're ever going to be happy with him. If you started out in this vibe where he doesn't contribute enough, or the few responsibilities you give him, he doesn't get done, you're going to have to find a way to get out of that whole mindset. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself miserable, because it sounds like he's living it up, he's comfortable in enough situation. He's got a roommate. He's resting. His parents are taking care of things. That's going to be his life for now, And if you guys are arguing, then it's only going to make things even worse. So you don't want to get into an argumentative state, man. Maybe if he doesn't want to contribute and there are things he has to do, maybe see if he'd be willing to put in with to a cleaner, like a house cleaner that comes once a week. That way he can get whatever his responsibilities are done, make his responsibilities some of the cleaning, and then he can pay to have them done. So that way it takes it off of his chest. But you can't feel bad if he's not physically doing those things. You can expect him out of them, but at a certain point, if he's not doing them, he's not doing them. And that's just sometimes how roommates are. When I think of roommates, I think of two people arguing over dishes. That's what I think of. And somebody else ends up writing their name on the damn spaghetti sauce. And then, we had a guy who jumped out of his own window, tried to kill himself when he was on drugs or something, but he was only on the first floor. So he ended up just breaking his window and damaging a set of Venetian blinds. But he was an idiot, but he tried to kill it. He tried to, we had roommate wars and all that shit and people losing their mind, things can happen with your roommates where you can be fun. You want to be in a fun environment. I remember one time, eating some drugs or something and being on LSD and cooking a pizza in the dryer. And I'll tell you this, it takes 4 hours for a medium to be edible. And that's one thing I learned by having fun with my roommates. We used to get drunk and my roommate would let me lay on the hood of his car and he would drive me all around town. Back when you could be young and fun. Not now. But I think you need to quit expecting him. You sound like a parent. It almost sounded like a parent calling in. So you're going to have to just find a way to get in a better mind space. Here's what I would do. I would maybe sit and let him know how you feel, but you can't come from a point of anger. Just say, this is what's going on. You need to take that stuff where he's silver spoon kid and all that shit out of it. That doesn't matter. That's his life, and that's your lives are different. Oh, well, that's that. But I would sit there and just let him know how you feel, that you just need some more help with things. Offer up the idea of maybe getting a maid. That way you guys aren't milling around fighting about it. And then, dude, it's going to sound crazy, bro. I'd pray for the dude. Pray for him for 2 weeks, man. And you're thinking this is some Christian ideas. No, I'm not saying that. Just 2 weeks in a row, every day, just hope the best for him. That's what you want to do. Hope the best. Man, I hope he just sleeps all day in pure comfort while I handle the chores. Because then here's what happens is, then you suddenly, you are a proponent of his. So even if you have these issues, he starts to become something you're cheering for instead of something you are angry against. It sounds crazy, but it'll adjust that perspective inside of you, man. And those are just my thoughts, man. Those are things that I would do if I were in that scenario. That shit might not work out. You guys might end up, taking scissors to each other's necks, and they might be playing this call in a court case soon. Who knows, bruh? But that's what I'm sharing with you. That's my basic life suggestion for this. All right, let's crack into another one. Thank you very much for calling, too. I do want to say that. I do appreciate the calls. I know this week we'd wanted people to call in who were missing an appendage. If somebody had lost an arm or I know a man who cut his wiener off one time when he was on drugs up there in Mississippi, and his family used to run the Ramada, and he cut off his wiener up there, and he's better now, and he dealt with all that. But I'm always real curious as to what it's like if somebody's missing an appendage, and just how that feels, and is it a constant thing where you think about it every day, or do you just get used to it? I didn't get any calls about that, I don't think. So if somebody has that and they're just afraid to share, I want you to know that I'm not trying to make fun of you, or if you have a friend that you might think could call in and tell us about that. That's what I want to know, is just some behind the scenes of not having a leg, or just some kind of tips and hints if you don't have a leg or an arm, or if you know someone who doesn't. Have them give us a buzz. All right, let's move on to another call. Here we go. This is from abroad.
Hey, Theo. So, second time calling. I'm just watching your podcast right now. I'm just waking up. I'm actually working abroad. I work in Ukraine.
Ukraine. Now, if you're not familiar with Ukraine, that's over there near Russia, Poland. That's a wild. It's the Wild West. A lot of snowball fights. A lot of children with stone shoes, and girls carrying stone dolls around. It's a tough life over there. So thank you for calling internationally, brother. Onward.
As an English teacher.
You're an English teacher.
Anyway, just having a few issues. I'm over here by myself.
Ooh, alone in the Ukraine. Also, the Ukraine is a lot of where those movies Hostel, and those movies where kids get murdered, or not children, adults get murdered on their spring break and stuff. So that's, I guess, a popular pastime in Ukraine. Onward.
Working abroad over here. I got a girl that I'm dealing with. Been seeing her for a few months. And it's just, these girls these days, man, they don't even officially say, or you guys don't have no talks. She's already expecting me to go to, family birthdays and just stuff I'm not into. And the crazy part is, this is my second time already dealing with these Ukrainian girls.
Okay, so he's having some issues here with these Ukrainian girls. They're expecting a lot out of him, and he's not having the talks. They're not, things aren't becoming clear. If it's a serious relationship or just a dating or something like that, I'm guessing. Let's listen more.
You meet them, you start hanging with them, everything's cool. You tell them you want to take it slow, you don't want nothing serious. And then all of a sudden, you're just buying birthday presents, and I don't know, man. What do you think about that? On these girls, just as soon as they get with you, they just act like your girlfriend. They don't have no discussions. And have a good one, man. Once again, long distance phone call. It's costing me money.
All right. Well, I appreciate you making that investment in this past weekend. The Ukrainian girls, man, if you calling, let's be honest, man, if you over there with the Ukrainians, a lot of them, they got a lot of, I'll tell you out the chute here, a lot of that pornography comes out of the Ukraine and, the Soviet Union, and, those girls like to get wild, real butt universe over there. But here's the thing. You said you're taking it slow. You tell these girls we're taking it slow. But even after taking it slow for a few months, that builds up speed, man. In the mind of a woman, things start to mean something to them, if you spend time. I got a gal that I'm just starting to spend some time with, and that makes me, I get nervous, I get nervous. Because for me, it's just, am I ready to be a man? Do I think I can be that, that stable? Can I be a stable man in a relationship? Am I there enough yet in my head and in my heart? Do I have enough of my things taken care of in my life to do that, to really be that man? But for you, it sounds like you just want to be casual, but these women start expecting something. And then you go into birthdays and parties and fiestas, and y'all are, you guys might be doing, you think you're just taking a walk, but then she have y'all jump into a carriage ride. And now y'all are carriage riders, or listening to somebody play the violin, or whatever they do over there in Russia, listening to somebody, softly beat their children, by candlelight, or whatever romance happens over there, you know, just watching somebody wash their forehead with soapy water or whatever. You know, I'm Polish, so I know, you know, I'm Polish Nicaraguan, so I know some of, you know, I got in my blood some of what's going on over there. I can hear it in my heartbeat sometimes, some of the trite magic that comes out of there over from that, from the far Eastern Europe. But I'll say this, man, I think you don't want anything serious, but these girls are going to start to expect it. And one of the craziest types of women to date are Russian women or Eastern European women. You know that, bro. You know that. You have to know that. I mean, they will. I've dated one girl in LA that was a Russian girl, and then she actually went to jail for beating up her landlord, I think. I'm pretty sure. I'm like 88% sure, 7 or 75 or something percent sure. I know she was on trial for it because she tried to get me to come down to the courthouse a few times. Beautiful girl, you know, and they all want to be Lara Croft Tomb Raider, you know, and I don't know what happened. But they get wild. And that's why I say, you know, it's tough to date some of those ladies because they will knuckle into you. You know, they just have that Cold War in them. They got the dark arts. They grew up playing with stone dolls and eating wooden candy. And when you grew up with that rough of a childhood, when you finally get a little something, you get anything, even if it's somebody's feelings. You know, feelings are a big or a commodity there. When you live in a land that has nothing, when you live in a land that's second and third world. I mean, remember the Olympics? They said that some of the hurdles were made out of goat bones and stuff. I mean, these people were putting shit together, you know? I remember, you know, some of the places where Olympians were sleeping were just other people's houses. They just sent them to like a rich person's house and hoped that the rich person would let them stay. Like, that's crazy. Or it's not crazy. I mean, it's not crazy. It's one of the things that comes with a third world nation, man. So if you're over there and people don't have anything to eat, you know, if you take a woman out on a date and the best y'all can even get is maybe a bowl of fish soup or something to share, and y'all are sharing just some salmon soup, and, you know, then the feelings that you give her, the emotions that you give her, those are going to be a big commodity. You know, whereas when you get over in the first world, you get over in LA or Birmingham, Alabama, or some of these fancy spots, and these women don't give a shit about the feelings, you know, and not all of them, but when you get into these higher money areas, that's when they care about the Lamborghinis, you know, and the Vivici dresses and the, you know, the Vivaldi designer bags and all of this shit. So you're over there where a hot commodity is feelings and time. And I'm envious of you, man, because it sounds like you have an LA mindset, but you have it over there in a place where people want to be attached. And, you know, we're living here in America where I think a lot of people want a little bit more attachment. So if you don't care about her, maybe you just need to, then let her go if she's getting too attached, you know. Think about it like this. Say you are allowed to fish somewhere, and they say, yeah, you can catch the fish and you can enjoy them, you know. You could hug them by the bank and touch them if you want. You know, you can be wild with them. And you have fun. You tell the fish right when you catch it, you know, I'm just going to keep you here by the bank with me, and it's just going to be fun. Then you throw the fish back in the water. What do you think that fish is honestly going to do? You've been over there snuggling with that fish and licking its sides and touching its gills, and y'all been getting to know each other for weeks. This is a fish that's been living underwater. And here it is breathing air next to another being, a human, but still another being. You think that fish is going to swim off, not care? No, it's not gonna. Especially a third world fish, man, where affection and time are commodities. So you add those things into the fact that Eastern European women are 70 or 58 or 65% psychopath, or pretty edgy, mentally edgy. Dude, that's fire right there. You are flirting with fire. So if you over there getting your dick burnt, I'm not surprised, bud. What advice do I have for you? At a certain point, you got to commit. Otherwise, just quit. Just at a certain point, you probably have to commit, or you need to be more stern in the beginning and let them know what the scenario is. But don't get angry at them. And if they invite you to a birthday party, get a damn present, dude. You know, go out there. You might meet somebody at a birthday party. That's a special event. They got cake and they might have camel, or not pony rides or whatever you guys have over there. Moscow mules. You could probably do anything. Who knows what they're even eating over there? A birthday, somebody probably only lives to about 11 or 12 in Ukraine. Go over there and celebrate. 15% of their life, they're inviting you. Go enjoy that. Be a part of something. So I appreciate you calling, man. And I feel you, if you don't want to be involved. But feel thankful, because they got men over here looking for some action, looking for love. And these women are offering it to you. So at least treat the women with some gratitude, enough that they care. But good luck, man. Good luck to you. And I appreciate you calling international. All right, let's get another one right here. Let's see where we're at time-wise. About 40 minutes. And thank you guys for paying attention and being involved. I'm also considering this Patreon, where we do some, maybe we do special episodes each week or something like that. But I'm considering Patreon or Patreon. I'm in this motel and I just heard my neighbor. I think they're pissed off at me. I don't blame them. I mean, I'm the dude who's chatting about, Ukrainian, dating habits through the walls at 3:19 in the morning. All right, here's another. This was a text that came in. Theo, what's up, man? This is Andrew from Iowa. Huge fan of all your stuff. I look forward to your podcast every week. So I have this situation I want to talk to you about. I've been seeing this girl. We have hooked up 4 times. Every time we end up going for it for about an hour. Wow. You ever had sex for an hour, dude? Well, that's your problem right there. If you give a woman an hour of sex, they're going to want more sex, dude. My move, give a woman 7 or 8 minutes of troublesome, awkward sex. And then they might not want it again. So you might want to consider that just to kind of slow down the pace you're on. This is only the second girl I've had relations with. And the same thing happened the 2 times I hooked up with the first girl. So I know the answer to this is to stop jerking it. But I wanted to ask you how you get to sleep when you are abstaining from masturbation. I've gotten into the routine of jerking it and falling asleep real fast. I'm sober now, so booze is not an option. I really want to quit the masturbation so I can have better sex. Thanks, dude. Andrew, I appreciate you reaching out from Iowa. I've had some good times in Iowa. I visited the Field of Dreams there, the actual one from the movie site, from the movie filming. It's there, and it's a nice thing to see if you drive through Iowa. I also had a good chicken fried steak there. But let me answer your question. You can't finish sexually. So if you sensually, you aren't finishing, so what, bro? Huh? So what, dude? I have sex sometimes and don't finish. You're not wrong for that. You don't have to finish every time. Have you ever started playing basketball and then it rains? Guess what, dude? You didn't finish, bro. Now, if you're jerking off right before bed, and that's your issue, then the problem is you have all that energy. You need to get rid of that energy throughout the day, and you have to get out and play hoops or get some kettlebells or kick a ball around the yard, do soccer with the neighbor, or find some way to get that energy out of you. Go to the gym. If it's mental energy and that's what's causing you to jerk out and to skeet up, then you need to, you know what I do? Sometimes I'll watch car accidents on the internet, that'll sometimes help me tone down. I'll burn something in the bathroom sink. Burn an old shoe or some piece of paper, something to get that edge off of me, something to let the devil out. Because what's happening to you if you're not, if you're feeling like you have to ejaculate to get that devil out of you, that's not true. You can get that devil out of you by some other way. You could chop a tree down. You could dig a hole in the yard, put something in there. You know, do a time capsule. You could just go for a run. You could lift weights. But you could watch karate, watch old adult karate on the internet. They got senior citizen karate. You know, it's exciting, but it's not too violent where it makes me scared to go to bed. But it helps take some of that nervous energy out of me, watching that attack, you know, those attack moves. So anyhow, I hope that answers your question. But don't feel bad if you're not spraying out during sex, man. You don't have to. Okay, that's something you see in pornography. You don't have to spray out. But I commend you on being sober. And if you think it sounds like you're answering your question for you. You know, you're answering your own question. You know, you said, so I know the answer to this is to stop jerking it. And that's probably is the overall answer, is to take that time away. You know, you'll be more involved and you'll actually get the release from where it's supposed to come from. You know, another human. But if it's anxiety, if it's that devil in you, and if it's that mental nut, that, you know, that when you feel that devil just gearing up in your heart and in your rectum and in your crotch, then you need to find a way to let that out. And that, I think, is doing the gym, or watching car accidents online, or watching adult karate, or, you know, doing ping pong. I don't do yo-yos or any of that kind of shit. That shit's boring, I think, a yo-yo. But anyhow, good luck to you, man, and best of love and luck to you out there, as you backing off that skeet and focusing on having natural ejacs at the end of sex. But don't feel bad if you don't. And I appreciate you calling, man. I appreciate you sharing this, or not calling, but sharing this text with us. All right, man. Let's check in one more. Here we go. And this one, this is one that I want to leave us on here, man. This guy, he had some thoughts, dude, and I really liked them. And I want to end us on this here. Let me see if I can find this. Here we go, right here. Let's go.
Yo, Theo, what up? My name's Ben. I'm a white dude from the suburbs of New York City.
White dude from the suburbs of New York. You hear that? We got a newsie on the line, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for calling, Ben.
This is response to your future predictions.
And Ben's calling about the future. He called it about 2 weeks ago, I think, and we were talking about the future and things like that. And I want to get back into some of that, and I'm going to use this call to lead us there. I want to know what you guys think about what Ben says here. Here we go.
I think what's coming 10 years from now, there's going to be a big cultural meltdown, I feel, between what it means to be a man and a woman from my generation.
Okay, so Ben's saying what it means to be a man and a woman from his generation, cultural meltdown. Here we go.
Because right now, there's a whole bunch of blurred lines and all that, and it's just getting crazy right now.
A lot of blurred lines right now. I agree, or at least, yeah, I agree.
But the fact is, I saw a stat yesterday on Snapchat saying, 3 million more women are graduating from college every year than men. The result of that is going to be, major income inequality coming up. And when it comes time to raise a family and stuff, my generation's pretty lost in terms of what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman.
So he's saying that there will be 3 million more women a year graduating college than men, into a generation where already there's a very blurred line of what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman. This is interesting, and I looked that up, and he's right. According to different studies, there appears to be more women graduating college and enrolling in college than men. Onward.
The roles that we have to play, and I just don't think that we're ready for that. Going from being completely lost of what it means to be, a man and a woman, to being thrown into the hard position of being the reliant spouse.
Let's back it up for 1 second so we get all of what he said. I shouldn't have interrupted that. Here we go.
The family and stuff, my generation's pretty lost in terms of what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman, the roles that we have to play. And I just don't think that we're ready for that, going from being completely lost of what it means to be, a man or woman, to being thrown into the hard position of being the reliant spouse in a marriage. And I think that's going to cause major cultural turmoil, and, who knows what the result of that's going to be. 10 years from now, I think that's going to happen.
Wow. Do you hear that? He's saying within 10 years, the effects of that are going to be really wild. When more women are the reliant bread earners in families and in relationships and in marriages than men. And just overall, that's scary to me. It is scary. I don't think it's scary because women will be the ones making more money. It's scary because I worry about what effect that might have on a man, on the psyche of a man. Are we moving too fast for our psyches to be able to handle it? There's something intrinsic in a man where you want to be the provider, where you want to be, the one who's bringing home the ducats, stacks on stacks, and now it's going to be women. It's going to be women who are doing this in 10 years. That's what he theorizes. So I'd love to know what some of you guys' thoughts are. Do you agree on this? I'm going to put it out an episode on Thursday evening that's just about this. Like, what do you think? What do you think about what he has to say here? Do you think this is true? Do you think that's wild? Do you worry about that? In 10 years, I grew up with just a single mother. So it's like, I was used to my mother being the breadwinner. But would it have been different if I had same age parents or similar, and then the mom is making all the money and the dad is dealing with the feelings of that? Or is that just going to be commonplace where, the fact that men feel like they need to be that is going to start to disappear, that's just an old feeling that, that we don't need to have anymore. Almost like the appendix, there's theories that at some point the appendix was necessary for man, but that now it's just this piece in your body that gets infected sometimes when you're playing Little League baseball and you have to go to the hospital immediately. So what's it going to be, man? Because that could be startling. And are these women going to want to be, are they just going to be the breadwinners and then still want to be mothers? Are they going to be, insane, aggressive feminists? One thing I notice about a lot of aggressive feminists, they're not mothers. They don't have any children. You look at a lot of these extreme pro-Hillary feminists during the election stuff. A lot of them, the celebrity ones that I see, not mothers, don't have any biological children of their own. Does that play a role? Is that where we're headed, where women don't want to be carrying babies anymore? They just want to, be breadwinners. I don't know. And what will men feel like? What are we going to feel like? When you come home, your wife's, got all the cash and you got to ask her for money. Men might just be like, this is fucking awesome. Maybe it's time for us to take that side seat and let women do it. Are we still going to feel sexually attracted to those women? Are we headed towards a gender war 200 years from now? Can Wonder Woman defeat Al Bundy from Married with Children? A lot of questions out there, but I love that. I love that final question there, and that was by.
Yo, Theo, what up? My name's Ben.
That was Ben, and that's from Mount Kisco area, and that's New York, outside of the city. And I love that. I love that he called, and I appreciate that. It's a great question, man. It's a great question, and we're going to leave it there, and that's something that you guys can call in and comment on this week. And I'm going to try to put up a special about that on Thursday. That's going to be the goal. And also we're considering Patreon, where we do something special for listeners each month. It's kind of a subscription-based service. I just want to know what you think about this. It's something I'm considering. just so that I can get into like a regular type of studio space, maybe get us a little bit better camera, and just have a producer that's helping constantly. I'm fortunate enough right now. I got this guy Sherb, who brings us into his studios over on in Conscious Studios. I got a guy Adam who helps give me advice. I got a guy Chris and my buddy Ken Highland and Chris Mako. I got guys helping out, but I'd love to be able to, things cost money. I'd love to be able to create a system that's a little bit stronger. But also, I don't want to damage what we have going on. I'm grateful to you guys for calling in. You can also feel free to call in and hit the hotline with any other issues or problems. Whatever's going on, man. You got something in your brain, something in your heart, drop it in there, and I appreciate it, man. And if I can relate at all, I will share my experience. Or if you hit me with a stomper and you got my brain going, then I'm going to share it like we did here just now with Nick, because that's wild to think that in 10 years, women could have all that money, And does that just change the dynamic of what it means to be in a relationship and what it means, how that fits? Can we still be a man if we're not the breadwinner? Can you still feel like a man? I mean, it's hard to feel like one now. I don't know if it's hard to feel like one, but it's hard to feel like you can express that you're one. But also I think some of that's just America. I hope it is. And hopefully it's just a phase that we're going through and some of this evens out. Because I think we should all be able to have the true joy of whatever our gender is, or even if you're gender neutral, you should be able to have that joy, whatever that is, I don't think somebody has to win. And that's what I don't like about some of the feminism. It's like they have to win. Why do you have to win? You don't have to, you're not beating men, okay? Equality means that we're all trying to figure it out and we're working together. And some things I don't want to be equal, because some things aren't for debate. Some things aren't, they're not something you can equate, I still want women to be women and men to be men. Because I think that's a beautiful little puzzle that we've been trying to put together for centuries. And I don't want us to stop that, And I think that's nature. That's how nature works. That's how nature works, man. So, and I love that, man. I'm a Romeo and Julietter. You know that. But thank you guys for calling in this week, man. I'm going to leave us out here. I'll see you guys next weekend at Calusa Casino. And then I will see you coming up soon. Nashville. If you have any friends in Nashville, July 7th and 8th, send them out, man. I'm excited for that weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, here we go, man, on the way out. Thank you guys for hanging out on this past weekend.
Kite, and welcome to Kite Club. a podcast where I'll be sharing thoughts on things like current events, stand-up stories, and 7 ways to pleasure your partner. The answer may shock you. Sometimes I'll interview my friends. Sometimes I won't. And as always, I'll be joined by the voices in my head.
You have 3 new voice messages.
A lot of people are talking about Kite Club. I've been talking about Kite Club for so long, longer than anybody else. So great.
Hey, sweetheart, here's the deal. Anyone who doesn't listen to Kite Club is a dodgy bloody wanker. Do you know what I mean?
Hi, I'll take a quarter pounder with cheese and a McFlurry.
Sorry, sir, but our ice cream machine is broken.
No!
I think Tom Hanks just butt-dialed me. Anyway, first rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Second rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Third rule, like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or watch us on YouTube, yeah? And yes, don't worry, my Brad Pitt impression will get better.
This past weekend. All right. Check. Are we cruising? Okay, we're cruising right there. Let's get going right here. It is Monday, July 17th, and welcome to This Past Weekend. I'm Theo Von. Appreciate you guys joining me. I'm in Orlando, Florida. I know the audio is kind of bad in here. I had to set up shop next to this sink and one of those loud refrigerators. You know, I think a lot of these like mid-level hotels, they put in the refrigerator in the room. It's never keeps anything cold. It basically is just something loud in the corner. It's almost like a pet. It's like having a grandparent, you know, that has dementia, but that has like adult asthma, you know, or that kind of snores a little while they sleep, and that is always, you know, those they're always just it's just too much, man. It's always just, it's like a rattle. Like the thing always just sort of rattles a little bit, like it'll just kind of click on, even though it's on all the time. Every now and then the refrigerator just sounds like it just cuts, like like somebody startled it or something, you know, like somebody just tried to shove something up its freezer section. I don't know. I'm in Orlando, man. It's late. I had a long day. I'm about to get into it, but I want to thank you guys for joining me. I hope you had a good weekend. You know, I think a lot of people are still enjoying some of that 4th of July-ness and, you know, a little bit of that aftermath of Labor Day and vacation time. And I went to Disney World, man. I went to Disney World this weekend. That's probably the biggest thing that I did. I was down here at the Orlando Improv, and I went to Disney World. And I don't know if you've been down to Disney, but I have before. I went twice. I went once as a child. My mother saved up some money, I'm sure, and took my brother and I to Disney World. My father didn't go. He was probably 75 at the time, and he stayed at home. And my mom took us, and I only have a few, maybe vague recollections from that, just still images in my head. But I went to Disney World when I was in high school. And we took acid. We took some LSD. Now, this was a time when people were experimenting with drugs, which is all the time in America. You know, if you've ever been around or opened your eyes in America, you'll see people on drugs. And we went there. We took a bus from Louisiana over to Orlando, Florida, here where I am right now. And we stayed in some shit motel. And it was a school-organized trip. And they brought us down, and I remember on the bus, I'd been seeing a gal at the time in high school, and I remember we're making love on the bus. I remember that. You know, getting in the middle of the night, I remember, you know, her, you know, just escalating her body on top of me and making love. And really making that joy, adding more joy to that bus ride than usual bus rides, because I've been on some other bus rides, and I'm happy to talk about those. And I would like to just, while I'm thinking about it, let's make that the topic for next week. If you have been on a wild bus ride, I'm talking Greyhound or a bus adventure of some sort, Peter Pan, you know, one of those troubled bus lines, And if you've had a wild experience, you can hit the hotline and let me know about that, and we'll try to drop some of those in for next week. That number is 985-664-9503. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. So we got down to Orlando, and somebody had some acid. And so we took some acid, a little bit of LSD. And I remember if something was in this LSD, it made everybody look Asian. If I don't know if if the guy who'd gotten it had copped it off of an Asian guy or a Viet or a Cambodian. They call them Cambos, a lot of people. But we had that Vietnamese acid or whatever it was, that Cambo acid. And I remember everybody I looked at looked Asian, and I got thin eyes, so game recognized game. But when I'm on that acid and it just made everybody look Asian. So we came there, and it was like graduation night, and all of my high school buddies, probably about 8 or 9 people on acid, and didn't tell the rest of the class. And we're just running around. It's a Small World. We probably went on that about 9 times. Some kid kept drinking the water out of Pirates of the Caribbean, and he got sick. He drank probably about 2 gallons of it, and he got pretty sick. But we just spent the whole night on acid, running around and doing the different rides and being scared of each other and being scared of ourselves and hiding in the bathroom. And like 6 of us tried to split a hamburger. That's how geeked out we were, and couldn't even do it. Couldn't even eat it. But that was a good time, and that was part of high school, But that was the last time I'd been to Disney World. And that was only one of 2 senior trips. Now, we'd taken another senior trip to Mexico. Mexico, one of the larger countries south of America. And we got down there, and everybody, I remember, bought a bunch of prescription pills and was stealing each other's stuff. I mean, it wasn't but a couple of, probably 9 hours we were down there in Cancun, and half the class, and this was a senior trip in high school, half the class was, hopped up on prescription pills and stealing each other's luggage and selling each other's shit on the streets and, stealing each other's whatever it was at the time. We didn't have cell phones. We had those calculators, TI-85s, those fancy, U-laters, and we were, those number crunchers, that they do algebra, and we were stealing those and selling them and buying more pills. And I mean, for a group of 17 or 18, 19-year-olds, it only took us about 12 hours to go completely AWOL, and half of us be addicted to painkillers and out there selling each other's goods and different type of textiles and wares. So that got bad, and then everybody's fighting, and half of us were sharing a room, and I remember we were stealing stuff from each other and hiding it in the same room we were in. So that right there will tell you what some prescription pills will do to you. So that's one thing you need to stay off of. But anyhow, that was, and a lot more happened on that trip. But that was some of those high school trips, and one of those was to Disneytown, Florida. And I'm here this weekend in Orlando, Florida. And some lovely ladies, Miss Suzanne and Megan, they just hit me up, actually on the hotline. And they said, Theo, we would love to take you to Disney World. And I said, I would love to go. And Jiggy, he's a comedian as well. His name's Jiggy, and he's a white guy. Because you think Jiggy, you think it's more of a urban hip-hop name, Jiggy! But it's not. It's a white Jiggy. And he's a very funny comedian. He tours with the Impractical Jokers, and he's a great guy. No ego on this young man. Really great guy. But he came along with us as well, and he met some little bird the night before she came. So we got a motley crew out there at the, and his friend Giovanna came as well. So we had a great little crew out there at Disney World. We got there early, out of the gate. I was up at 8 a.m., did not want to be awake, did not want to go see the mouse. But we got there, and it was a great time, man. We got a little bit of sun. You get there and you park, and then you get on the tram, and it seemed a lot more like a theme park than it did like a magical kingdom. That's where we went. We went to Magic Kingdom. But when I was young, I remember even in high school, it seemed like, wow, Disney World, you know? But as an adult now, it seemed a little bit more just like a theme park, you know, like, okay, it's, you know, you go on the rides, you wait in the lines. It's not as, more of the magic was for the youth, I found. But it was very picturesque. You know, they had the castle. I mean, it's 100 degrees. You got the little gerbils out there, chipmunks, you know, Alvin and Simon or whoever they are, and they're out there, you know, just sweating. I mean, you could just see their fur just drenching up at the paws and at the elbows from the sweat. And they didn't even have a lot of, you know, Alice in Wonderland was out there, but she looked like she'd been through some things, you know, like she'd been living in Reno for a little bit. But we got there and you get on the tram and they take you right past where the little baby got eaten by the alligator. We fought the alligator. And I used to have dreams a lot of times when I was younger where babies would be fighting animals. And so it's hard for me to say I haven't seen animals and babies fight each other, because I have. You know, I haven't seen it live. You know, I don't even know if you can see that even in Mexico or in maybe Russia. I bet you could probably still see some of that type of, you know, gambling activity and such. But in my dreams, I've seen it often. I remember they had a tournament one time over about a week and a half when I was sleeping, not consecutive sleeping, but in the evenings, you know, resting, catching rest. And I would have these different dreams of different babies and animals in this big tournament and fighting each other and fighting each other off. And then, you know, it kept narrowing down until you had one animal that won. And that animal was I want to say it was a lynx, I believe. Large cat, dark kind of looking, black cat. But not a black cat like you see just on your street or on a side street. A black cat you have to really get into the woods to see, you know. Kind of like the evil black cat in Jungle Book, something like that. But it beat a pretty strong baby in the last kind of dream that I'd had. But anyhow, I'm getting tangential here. But let me tell you this. So you drive right past the place where that baby fought that alligator and lost. And so that's a little crazy out of the gate because you haven't even gotten to the magic. And then they got this, I mean, you literally go right over the beach. We've all seen the pictures of the beach and the, you know, the roped off area where, you know, the alligator just snatched up that baby. And so that's wild because you've just seen that and you get there. And then you get to the park and you go in and you see the Magic Castle. And a friend of mine, one of the friends that went with us, this young lady, Gio, she was telling us that there's a whole underground city there at Disney. And I'm like, wow, you know, this is very much like Vietnam, you know, when you think about it. Because, you know, the Vietnamese, they had these, the Cu Chi tunnels. And if you're not familiar, you can look that up, and that's spelled Cuchi, I think separate words, but the Cu Chi tunnels where the Vietnamese would hide in the ground and then tuck, 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 just poke you out with you know, bamboo spikes up through the ground and surprise you and kill you. And but Disney's not like that, you know, they're trying to show you joy, but they have a whole underground city apparently where the Disney Vietnamese, if you will, are down there. It's just subbing out chipmunks and subbing out, you know, dancing raccoons and wild animals, or, you know, Winnie the Pooh, whoever their characters are that are on the lot that day that are, you know, up there rocking, you know, regular ground. They got it where they're subbing each other out and kind of piping each other in and out. So it was just crazy to just even hear that. And then you'd see some of the activity. You'd see like somebody, you know, you'd see like this crazy walrus from the Walrus movie. He'll disappear around a building, and then you'd see another walrus come out, and he'd be like maybe just 2 inches taller. You know, you'd be like, oh, look at that walrus. You know, I know he didn't just grow behind that building. So, it was just interesting to start to see some of the inner workings of it. If you really, as an adult, you're able to take you're not as mesmerized by the childhood enamorations of it all. And you're able to actually see some other stuff that's going on. So I thought that was really, really captivating to me, just to be able to have that experience of seeing Disney from a more adult standpoint. What else did we do there? Saw a lot of male ponytails, and I know that's a Florida thing. And I don't like it. They have the man bun, and honestly, I think the man bun looks kind of handsome, You see some fellas with it. But the male ponytail, it's just gutter, it is gutter. And it really, a lot of men, if they have that, they got issues, This is actually Jiggy calling on my puck. He's calling right now. I got to take it because I got to see if he's going to bring me some food. Hey, bud.
Hey, are you back at the hotel?
Yeah, I'm back at the hotel, man. I'm just doing my podcast right now.
Oh, my bad. I was just going to bring you something to eat. You want like a salad or a sandwich or something?
I'll take a sandwich. Just anything you run across over there will be good.
Fine, man. I'll see you in a few minutes. What's your room number?
My room number is 523.
523. All right, I'll see you soon.
Where are you at?
I'm almost back.
Okay, cool, man. I'll see you in a little bit. Bye. All right, sorry about that, man. Got me a little sandwich coming. It's midnight here, and we're catching a 7 a.m. flight, but we're going to leave at 5:15, so it's going to be that kind of night. What else? So, yeah, Disney was wild, man. We had a great time, went on a few of the rides, and it's, the rides aren't to scare you. The rides are to make you feel joy. And it did take me back, some of it, to being a kid, the Haunted Mansion, and just seeing, I wasn't really looking at the rides as thinking, well, what does this look like to me, this experience? I was more, as an adult, I was trying to think back. I found myself trying to feel like a child. I found myself trying to look out at the rides and be like, wow, I wonder what this was like when I was a kid. Or I wonder what a kid would be thinking right now if they saw this. So it's interesting. It's a great place to be a kid, man. It's a great place to kind of reconnect with some of that, or to connect with some of that at all, because it's just built so much, I believe, around the mindset of wowing children. So anyway, that was fascinating, man. We really had a great time, and I just want to thank the young ladies that took us. One of them's husband is a fireman, and he got us some passes. So thank you, Ryan. I know that's the man's name. He didn't even come, so he lent us his wife for the afternoon, and that was kind to him. So thank you very much. We had a good time. We had a really good time. It was a blast, man. And they had some fast passes, so some of the rides we could, get in the quicker line, and we had a blast. So thank you very much. Outside of that, I went and saw an old friend. I had a friend that I hadn't seen in 20 years that lived here in Orlando, and I went and saw him. And it's interesting to see an old friend, because they have pieces of your life that you forgot. They have different pieces of the story. They have different elements, and we really shared some stories, and I'm going to get into some of those. I'll get into some of those next week, just some more stories from home and stuff. But that was interesting, just to rekindle just kind of that vibe and that environment. And he had a buddy over. They were making a brisket, right? He had a buddy from, I think his friend was from Israel or England. So he had a buddy over making a brisket. And so I get over there, I'm thinking, we'll eat in a little while. I got over there at probably 1. I'm thinking we'll eat probably 2:30. Well, about 3:45, I'm like, damn, dude, I'm hungry, Like, if you invite somebody over for some brisket, you probably need to have some brisket at some point. And I don't mean to get angry, but you need to do what you say you're going to do when it comes to feeding people, because people are hungry. And if they don't eat, they'll die. It's different if I say, come over, I'll lend you a pair of shoes, and I don't. That's fine. You got other shoes. You got skin on your feet. Your body's not going to just fall out of the bottom of your legs. You have skin on your feet that is going to hold your body together. But if you tell somebody to eat, they're going to eat and they're not. And this guy, nicest guy, but he kept trying to be a fancy chef, you know? He's like, oh, well, I'm going to, I got the meat and I'm going to sweat it. I'm going to sweat the meat, I'm going to take it off the grill and put it into an ice thing. And then I'm just going to stare at it, I'm going to get in a staring contest with this meat and see who, show it who's boss. And I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck who's boss. I don't care about this meat's work history. I don't need to see a resume. I want to eat, bro. And finally, after all this shit of just flipping it in the air and fucking, dusting it with, cumin and damn dust powder and smoke. And this guy's like, he kept pulling the fat off of it and injecting it back into it and like recycled and reused and refurbished and Jesus Christ, reborn, born again brisket. I'm like, what the fuck is going on, dude? I'm about to, the only place you need to baptize this fucking piece of meat is in my mouth, Brother Bear. And so, man, some of this chefing, though, is just going too far. And you got these friends, it's like, dude, we're here to eat. Like, we've been swimming in a pool, we're hanging out with the children. Everybody's having a nice time. We got sunburn. Just fucking eat. We're not saving the world out here. So finally I had to get a little fiery, not with the guy really, but just with the overall idea of what was going on because you invited me here to eat. Guess what, Buddy Bear? I'm hungry. So let's do it. Oh, but nonetheless, we had a good time. My friend came out to the show with his wife last night and it was good to catch up with an old friend, man. Pretty good anyway. Sometimes you invite friends and they end up being the loudest one at the show. And I actually had a girl that came out this weekend and she brought some friend or something. And, this is a gal I'd known from years ago. She brought her best friend and that lady's husband. And they sat and talked in the audience the whole time. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And it always happens. Every time you bring your friends, there's this thing that friends just feel like they're part of the show, And it's not bad sometimes, but sometimes it's bad. But we made the most of it. We made it through. Thank you, Orlando. I had a great weekend, man. I really did. I really, really did. We got some cool calls that hit the hotline. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to go over with you guys. I'm going to drop a quick dates on you right now. And those dates are, I will be in San Diego this Thursday, July 20th. And that is with Sal from Impractical Jokers and Roy Wood Jr. from The Daily Show. And that is at the House of Blues. Then I'll be in Montreal, Canada. Montreal. And that is July 27th through the 30th. I'll be in Texas, Dallas, Texas, at the Addison Improv, August 10th through the 13th. Let's get out to that one. Let's show some love. That's my favorite club. Very excited about that. And then September 6th through the 9th, I will be in Addison, Texas. That's where we are right now. I might add a date in Vancouver. I'm just not sure if people would come out to it. If so, I'll do that next week. We'll see. I'm looking into that right now. But thank you guys for your love and support. You can get the albums right now, 30 Pound Bag of Hamster Bones and Musket Fire. Those are both available on iTunes. And please subscribe to the podcast. We got some new shirts that'll be going up at the end of the week on theovon.com/store. And that's it, man. I love you guys. We had some calls that came in, man. Some neat stuff I wanted to get to. So let's get into it, man. And this is a follow-up. This guy called in. It was a couple weeks late, but I'm guessing he just heard the episode, and he called in talking about America, and then we'll move on to some different stuff. Here we go. All right, hold on. Jeep.
Hey, Theo. It's Trevor from California. Just heard of your last this past weekend and wanted to give you a quick call.
Thank you for calling, Trevor. Happy to have you calling in from California. Let's hear it.
You were talking about what it means to be an American, and I thought all the callers had great points, and as always, you provided some good feedback too. But on kind of I guess more of like a philosophical side.
And Trevor's talking about, we talked about what it meant to be an American. If it's the first time you've heard this podcast, we talked about it. We had some callers call in, just what it meant after 4th of July, what they felt like it meant onward.
I wonder, what do you think about the counterpoint, I should say, that really nationalism and any sense of I'm an American or I'm a Canadian are names for our separation as humans. It's a different way to label ourselves as something separate from one another. And I can kind of tell, from listening to you all this time that you're more kind of and maybe I'm wrong, but you seem to be more of like a brother, universal brotherhood, all one type of thinking. So how do you square the fact that, yes, it's good to be proud to be an American, but at the same time, the more you believe, and especially psychologically and philosophically, if you really believe you are an American, that creates a them and us, or us and them sort of dynamic, which then really is the root cause of all war and conflict is...
Yeah, and I'll just pause you right there, Trevor. I appreciate the call, man. And what's funny is I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about this since some of the calls and since we went over that topic some. And this is kind of the other side of that coin. Some of our calls and stuff were a little bit not one-sided, but it was those were the people that called. So those are the things that we talked about. But this is another view, and it's a great point that Trevor makes, that if we say that, okay, I'm an American and you're a Canadian and you're an Ethiopian and you're from Siam and you're from Mexico, then by having like pride in our country, are we separating ourselves? Are we not looking at the fact to just say, hey, we're all people and we're all here in this world, but instead we're saying I'm this and you're that. So is having, and I'm not trying to juxtapose your point, Trevor, and I appreciate it, and you said it real clearly, but it's like, is that bad? And it's interesting, man. It's a great point. It's like, right when I heard your call, Trevor, it really made me think. Because I'm like, wow, yeah, like if I'm thinking just, America, then am I like, immediately I'm separating myself from other places. Is it all about people, one love, one everyone. And I believe in the idea of brotherhood. I believe that it would be great if we could all live in conjunction that way. I worry, though, that first of all, I think that if we're going to be able to do that in the world, that America is going to have to probably lead the way. I don't know if that's true. Maybe everyone just has to lead the way. But I think that we seem to be looked at as a leader a lot of times. And if we don't take care, all right, hold on 1 second, guys. I got Jiggy coming in with a snack. What's up, man?
Yep.
Pod. You good? What's up, Sarah?
A little grilled fajita flatbread for you.
Ooh, really? Woo! Beautiful.
See you in a few hours, brother.
All right, brother, be good. Y'all be good. Man, beautiful there. Sorry. My boy Jiggy, his lady is still with him. His lady. This little, some little Betty Ruxpin that he met yesterday. And a sweet girl, too. Really cute, named Sarah. Really nice. And they met. And they started holding hands right at the theme park at Disney World today, right out of the gate. And they met yesterday. I don't know when they met. I'm not assuming they slept together or anything like that, but, they probably slept close to each other maybe in the same room. I don't know. And I guess I'm putting them on blast now, but but anyhow, they're still together and they were holding hands at the theme park. That's a wild move. Early, like at 9 a.m. We got there at 8:30. So if you start holding hands early in the day, dude, what? Then it's like every time your hands get near each other, you have to hold again because you started that train already. So he's really been caught up. But she's a sweet girl and he's a great dude. Anyhow, so look, but yeah, that's wild, Trevor. It's wild to think about, like by having American pride, are we separating ourselves? And I think that if we don't, that a company that does a business that doesn't take inventory usually doesn't last long. And that's kind of where I think we are in America. I think we have the ability to set that example and to be that example and even to lead the world, hopefully, into that one love, universal, everyone environment. But I think it's got to be done steps at a time. Like, I think we need a serious roll call in America of who's here, because you don't take inventory, you know, you're not going to be in business long. And then what? I mean, if we just open the borders right now, everyone would come here. We're already really destined for an overpopulation problem in America. I think a lot of people would come here, and I think violence would start to happen pretty quick. You know, I mean, I like to think that, yes, there's all good in people and that's the way it would end up, you know, that we would all share. Maybe that is the way it would go. But are we going to do that? You know, I don't know if we are. I don't know if we're just going to open and just let everybody in the whole, whoever wants to come into America. And I know it's like you're saying, well, it's not our America. We're just living here. We're just passing through time and this is our land. Yes, I agree with that. We are. But we have to, if we want the best to continue to be possible, then I think, or to be possible, then I think we have to, you know, monitor the situation where we're at. And I think where we're at right now is that America needs a roll call. You know, I wish they had a day where they made everybody go out in the street and see who your neighbor is. See who's here. We don't even know who's in America, you know, and I just feel like it's just kind of a scary place to be. You know, I would do some things different to start bringing people back together. You know, we could use a bit of closeness in America, getting people back together before we start inviting everybody into this, you know, greed, money-driven society that we kind of have created. You know, I wish that on Sunday nights, I wish they shut the power out. I remember when the power was out, my family used to spend time together. It was one of the only times that we would spend time together was when the power was out. And there was just something about it. It was just peaceful. You know, somebody had to light a candle and we had to just be around each other. And we couldn't fight or anything because everybody was a little bit scared, and you get this feeling like you need each other. And I thought I think that'd be interesting if we did that in America. If on Sunday nights, you know, after 5 p.m., no more power, shut it down. So what? You can't do business, you can't do whatever. Oh well, you can be with each other still. You know, you can spend time, you can create some of that love. Because I don't know if we're really, you know, I think if you just let everybody in, yeah, I think in a matter of a month you'd have severe civil unrest. You'd have the rich all hiding and be able to hide, and you just have straight up anarchy in the streets, Game of Thrones style. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, look what happens when there's just when there's. I was gonna say, like, look what happens in like a Katrina type environment when people don't have what they need. You know, things escalate pretty quick. It's not a level of let's be peaceful and figure this out. Things escalate pretty quick, you know. But I love this thought though. It's so true. That's the other side of the coin. It's like, is this our country? Not really. You know, we were just born here. How do we manage that? And that's an effective thought that I wish that I'd like to think about more, because I feel like it's good for me to think about that. So Trevor, I appreciate you calling in and bringing that to my brain, man. Bring it to the forefront of my brain. A little bit more from Trevor. Let's hear a little more.
Is them and us. So just wanted to hear what you had thought about that. To make a huge jump too, and sorry for the long message, but I also do have a couple of odd sauna interaction stories. You mentioned you were looking.
He said sauna interaction. Now, we had people last week. I asked listeners if they wanted to call and share about if they'd ever been hit on by men or women in a sauna, if they'd had some sauna activities, or even actually here. Well, let's just listen to Trevor.
You were looking for where basically guys will kind of hit on you as I think you mentioned when they were sleeping, though, which is kind of a different thing, but I could certainly give you some.
Yeah, because some men be hitting on other men while they're sleeping, you know. And I remember falling asleep at this older man's house one time, and I wake up and he trying to be by me, you know, and I didn't really know this man that well, and that was kind of wild. And sometimes if you're in a sauna, you know, somebody is so foggy in there, next thing you know, you turn your head and there is somebody else's right there, or somebody's hip or thigh, or, you know, that soft area behind their knee or the small of their back is right up under your nose, you know, and things can get surprising. So that kind of stuff happens in saunas.
Some of that detail, if that was useful. But I wanted to focus on the nationalism piece.
And I appreciate it, Trevor. I appreciate you calling in the nationalism thought. It's great, man. It's a great thought, you know. What if we were just able to look at the world as this is our nation instead of like, oh, America, you know, the world, humanity. And I think it's a beautiful idea. I don't know if we're in a place right now where we can feasibly rely, like, how do we trust that that's going to occur if we're able to, you know, if you open up the borders, how do you assure people that everybody's just, you know, that if it's a free-for-all that everybody's just going to be good to one another? You know, I don't know how that ends. I mean, I remember if you look at even like the story in the Bible, and even if you don't believe in the Bible, which is fine if you don't, but if you just look at it as a fable, as a, you know, as a example, you know, they had Cain and Abel, they had Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, 4 people on earth, and one of the brothers killed the other one, you know, Cain killed Abel, I believe. So at one point you had 4 people, and one of them killed another person. That's 4 people. So at one point you only have 4 people, one of them's a murderer, you know, like, it's risky, bro. That's risky. And that's a buddy of mine, Matt Knudsen, has a great joke about that. And that idea is his premise. You can look that up, though. Matt Knudsen talks about how one point in time, 25% of the population were murderers, if you believe in the Bible. All right, let's keep it cruising here. What do we have? All right, here we go.
Hey, Theo. It's Ethan. Love the podcast.
Hey, Ethan. I like that name, Ethan. Onward. Thank you, Ethan.
Yeah, I'm calling because I'm married for about 4 years to this woman who doesn't really have sex with me anymore.
Wow. That is, it sounds like most marriages, probably. My thoughts, though, honestly, lucky you, dude. Sex sometimes, overrated, bro. Onward.
I recently got into really good shape, super healthy, getting a lot of attention from other girls, and my sex drive has gone up.
Mm-hmm.
But my wife isn't really into it, like maybe once every 3 months, and it's really kind of over and done with fast.
Okay, so his wife only wants him, he said, about once every 3 months. Okay, so I can imagine that's probably got to not make you feel very good, you know, or at least it's got to really diminish the returns on you guys' love there, probably, if she doesn't even feel attracted to you. Onward.
So I kind of was lacking, so I resorted to trying to find someone outside of the relationship to fulfill that need. Anyways, I met this girl, we started talking, and like right from the get-go, it was fucking amazing. She's incredible. Every message was perfect. There was so much momentum. It was effortless. It was awesome. So that's been going on for like 5 weeks now.
Okay, so you got your dinner at the house and you been looking at the candy. That's what that sounds like. Let's hear a little bit more.
I met this girl twice. We never had sex, but that's kind of the whole intent behind it. But now this girl means so much to me that I don't know what to do.
Okay, so I'm just going to stop you there for just a second or pause you. So you met this girl twice. You've been texting a lot. You met her twice. There's the intent for sex. Hasn't happened yet. And you're saying you care about her so much. And that sounds confusing to me. I mean, I understand that it can feel real to you, but it sounds from an outsider's perspective, which you're you know, trying to get here, I assume, that, you know, that it can't be that you care about her so much. Because care, I would feel like, takes more time to actually establish itself. So there's probably a strong bit of infatuation, unless you feel so uncared for by your wife that that any care at all here is is really fulfilling that so much that it feels like a ton of care, or it actually feels like care and not infatuation. Onward.
And I know it's probably common that a dude just finds another girl and falls in love with her for whatever reason because of what's lacking in his life. But I actually addressed the whole sex thing with my wife recently, and she confirmed that she's just not really into it. Had a panic attack a couple nights ago thinking about it. Again, woke up in the middle of the night vomiting from anxiety, just because I feel like I'm floating in an emptiness between two people who want me for different reasons, and no one actually wants me for who I am as a whole.
Wow. I mean, we just went through like an emotional Star Wars right there. So you got anxiety from what's going on here. You talk to your wife about it. I'm assuming you talked to her about the sex part and not about the part that you have, this little kitty on the side. You trying to pet this side kitty, and I've been out there. Look, man, I've had trouble in relationships in the past if I don't get in them. Commitment issues, and you start getting confused in your feelings. You want to touch that side kitty, when you want to, you might be even sitting in the living room with your family, but you reaching your hand out back the window and you petting yard animals. You feel me? You reaching for them soft, wet yard animals. And that can happen, man. And it sounds like you're starting to look for that. Because if you have this in this woman, then you're starting to feel that. You've talked to your wife. Now you're having anxiety. You're vomiting in the night. I mean, that could be. I mean, if you eat a lot of times peanut butter and jelly, having that before you go to bed can really make you vomit. But especially if it's on raisin bread, because a lot of raisins in raisin bread can be rotten. I don't know if you guys knew that. A friend of mine just told me that recently. Anyhow, dude, it sounds like you. Let's listen to the rest of this. Onward.
And this other girl kind of fell for me really hard, and I did for her, and I think it threatened our own situations. So we're figuring that out, but I'm just really afraid she's gonna ditch me. I just want to keep her in my life in some way, even if we're not having sex. But just wondering if you had any advice on how I can handle this. I have no idea. Tried everything. Don't know what to do.
Okay, man. I appreciate you calling. I do want to say that, man. First and foremost, I appreciate you calling. You like this girl, it sounds like, the side kitty. You found some love or excitement, and maybe that's missing from your relationship, and that's why it feels so grandiose. I think you got to ask yourself, do you love your wife, and do you want to be with your wife? If not, and to me from this call, I'm not trying to give you advice, but it sounds like you're not getting what you need there. And at a certain point, there's a couple solutions or a couple of directions. You can try to get some therapy for you and her together. You can try to get some therapy for yourself, because are you trying to solve the problem with your wife, or are you trying to cure the issue with your wife by reaching outside of your marriage? That's kind of the deal, And I would think about it in the way, try and treat your wife the way that you would want to be treated. So say the roles are reversed and your wife has the same, you're not sexually attracted to her and she's having these thoughts and feelings and she's talking to somebody else. How would you best like it and be understanding for her to deal with you? And then that's the way I would go at it and deal with her. Because you're not going to be able to keep somebody around. You asked, how do I keep this woman around on the side? You're not going to be able to do that just as a friend, because you'll end up banging them. You will end up banging them or, laying next to them and jerking off or something or doing something, just letting, your innards start to really express themselves, let your dick stand up. So you got to keep that in your head, man. If you hang out with wool, you're going to lay your head on it. That's what they say. That's what they say, man. They say the man that sleeps with sheeps skeets with sheeps. So remember that, man. Keep that in your head. If you hang out with the wool, you're going to lay your head on it. Rarely do you see a man walking around with a pillow and then come nighttime, he just set the pillow in a briefcase or something. No. But it sounds like infatuation, and it sounds like you should either try to work things out with your wife or just leave her, man. Maybe, realistically, you probably are not in love with your wife. It doesn't sound like you are in love with your wife. It sounds like you were at one time, but I don't know if that is that time anymore. And you talked for a second about taking care of your body, but are you taking care only of the outside? That's what I'm a little bit worried about, So I'd look inside and really ask yourself some questions. And that anxiety, that vomit, like the only thing that can be coming from is your actions are probably stirring up inside of you and making your body and your spirit all squirrely. Because if you're just talking to your wife about the sex part, but then you're using that conversation to go then and justify your actions, it's not. That's probably, it's probably not the coolest way to go about shit. I mean, you can cheat on your wife. You can go out and sleep around and see if that works. See if maybe that's the thing you need to do that's going to help you figure out what do you need to do. If you need to stay with your wife or if you need to go on or, but it sounds like you need to figure out that this doesn't have anything to do with your wife. I think this has to do with you. So I would start there, decide what you want. And then take the actions to make the changes. You can do it, bro. If you need to, you can do it, But yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard. It's hard to be in a relationship these days. And I think a lot of men, honestly, are not even looking really for lovers in relationships these days. I think a lot of men are looking for mothers. And I base that on the fact that I think the recent generation of men has grown up in a time when they didn't have mothers. A lot of their mothers were working, and so they didn't have the same mothership that our grandparents had, or that our parents had. So whereas our parents might have been looking for a sexual mate, that I think the men now are looking for something a little bit more along the motherly lines. And maybe you're not one of those men. Maybe you're a man that's just looking for that. You have to have that sex. And you have to have the sex in your relationship. I know you have to have it. And some people, it might only be a few months, because as you stay married, some people they just become really good friends. And sex isn't that important to them. But if you're probably, getting back into your body and taking care of yourself, then yeah, you might be, revving up that sex dragon. You might be feeding matches to that sex dragon, and then he's going to spray out, and he's going to start talking fire, and that's how your libido is getting lit up. And you switching from a 87 to a 91 octane, So you starting to run on diesel, boy, and that's what it is. I think is that you're invigorated, and you want that action again. And maybe your wife is just not full circle there. So, I mean, the options are you go out and cheat, or you let your wife know what's really going on and you stay out. And then that way you can go out and at least be with another woman, but have a clean heart about it, But good luck, man. Let us know how it goes, if you will. Why don't you hit the hotline back and let us know how it goes. And Trevor, too, that called in a little bit ago, I'd love you to call back and let us know about what happened in those saunas when those men was being wild. Because I've been in there, boy, and it's gorillas in the mist in there, I mean, you think it's your towel and it's another man. Well, sometimes if he has long hair, he'll put his hair right by your hand, and you reach over to you think it's your towel, but it's his hair that he's laid out flat on the stone in there in the sauna. And then you grab his hair, and next thing you know, you pull him over by you. And you think you're just trying to get a towel to just wipe off. So a lot of trickery and miscreancy going on out there. The Disney Vietnamese. I like that. All right, let's keep it moving here, man. Let's hit another question right here. Let's hear it.
Hey, Theo. This is Derek. I'm from Hilo, Hawaii.
Ooh, Derek from Hilo, Hawaii. Pineapple country, huh? What's up, you little napple? They call them napples out there. People that live in Hawaii. Onward.
And I was just listening to your last podcast, and you got talking about how you might just cut off your balls. You might cut off your dick, and you feel like you get nothing done because of that. And I had to stop the podcast right there and call you, because That is crazy, man. You can't think, you would do nothing.
Now he's referring, I thought many times that my penis and my junk, nuts, and whatever else is in your nut sack. They say nuts, but it feels like honestly there's more in there. And I've thought for a long time that if I didn't have that, if I didn't have my penis and nuts, that I could function better, that I would get more work done, because I think we're starting to become, and I believe that, Richard, and I said that I would mail them, or Derek, sorry, I said that I would mail them to Africa or to, a different country, not Africa, or Africa or a different country. And because that would be a meal. You can easily feed a family of 3 or 4 with the meat that is inside of your cock and your scrotum. And I'm not trying to be disgusting, but that's real. In America, we cut off body parts like it's nothing. Somebody gets a little bit of gangrene, they lop their leg off. But whereas you don't realize is that in India, that'll feed a fucking farmer. That'll feed a farmer's family. That'll feed a farmer's family for filling their falafels. Which this is starting to sound like that'll feed a farmer's family for filling their falafels. This is starting to sound like a tongue twister. That'll feed a farmer's family for filling their falafels. That'll feed a farmer's family for filling their falafels. Yeah, it's pretty fun one and an easy one. I think you could kind of a starter tongue twister. But yeah, I think you could cut it off and mail it, Derek. And I don't see a problem with that. I don't see a problem with providing some light food or light fare to some others who are in need. And if I don't want my penis and I don't want my nuts anymore, but let's hear the rest.
You would get nothing done without your balls and dick. Your motivating factor for life would be over. What would be the reason to live? What would be the reason to live?
Okay. I'll answer that for you. The reason to live then would be, I think we're starting to metastasize as humans. We're starting to morph some. Where yes, it used to be that to procreate was our main necessity. But is it still? We have a lot of people in the world. We are at a level, especially in America, of pretty high comfort. We are pretty comfortable. Even if we're, I feel like wealthy or poor, we are at least, you can be just lazy and, collect money or get your money and you can still be comfortable. You can still have a bed and air conditioning and a phone and cable and you can have food and you can be comfortable. So at that point are we really looking to procreate as much as we are just looking to enjoy our comforts? I almost feel like, sadly, in this country, that's one of the infestations that we have is that we're just too comfortable. And we're starting to, as humans in America, we're starting to metastasize, or we're starting to evolve into creatures that it's just like, what's the best way we can enjoy our comfort, or the best way that we can work harder, or the best way that we can, but not work harder like in the sense that I need to be in the wild hunting boars or hunting, violent squirrels or flocks of squirrels or gangs of squirrels, but in the sense that I need to be doing, computer work or podcasting or, stuff that I don't even need my dick and nuts for, stuff that I need just my brain and just my ideas for. So I feel like that's where we're at a little bit. So if I didn't have this hindrance of meat between my legs, this meal, and I say meal because I got a decent dick, I got some swell cock for a man. And if I'm just carrying it around and somebody else in another country this could be a feast for them, a small feast, but a feast for maybe at least a beautiful Valentine's dinner or something if somebody wants to enjoy themselves with their friend or lover. But, then that's me being greedy. And if my penis wasn't always taking my thoughts, because I'll start getting some good ideas and doing work, and my penis is like, hey, don't you want to, go see if there's some cooter across the street? Oh, what if there's some cooter downstairs? Huh? Have you thought about that recently? Yeah, my penis starts telling me all that. It's cooter hungry. And it'd be nice sometimes to stop that hunger, to satisfy it and just to eliminate it. So then I could just stay in my realm of work and what I feel like would be to do my best work and to focus more on the things that help me feel good about myself, like caring about others, loving my friends and family, and trying to be of service. Those things are what really make me feel good. So I don't know, man. It's interesting, but I feel like getting rid of it, that's what it would do, man. It would really lift me up as a man, as a person. I really do. What else do we have here? You know what? I got a couple of other good calls, but I'm going to hit them next week, man. Just because it's getting late. It's 12:45 here. And I know some of you guys are like, well, what, dude, what, we listening? What? Well, I'm sorry, man. I love you. I'm doing the best that I can. I am actually looking forward to hopefully getting some new studio environment in Los Angeles this week. So hopefully that will come to fruition. But I'm really excited about it. But I appreciate the calls, man, and I thank you for the calls. And again, I really thank you. I appreciate people that are calling in and sharing what's going on in their lives. And I don't have any answers. All I have are some suggestions and what I can share with you. But that's it, man. Coming to you from Orlando. I didn't have any intro or outro music this week. I'll get back to it, I promise. But you can hit the hotline. And if you have any other thoughts on anything that we talked about or brought up, please share them. My number is 985-664-9503. And it's up to 3 minutes. You can talk on there. And if you don't get it all in, then call back. But try to get it all in 3 minutes. You know what I'm saying? But I did get some other great calls. I'm going to use them. I'm just not going to be able to use them on this episode. But thank you guys so much. Have a great week. It's July, It's summer. It's hot as hell, dude. It's hot as hell. So get in the pool, spray some water on your friend, bring a water bottle, squirt somebody. You know what I'm saying? Brush your teeth, though. Brush your teeth. Hug somebody. Won't you do that? Won't you surprise somebody today and hug them? Hug them, motherfucker. You feel me? Hug them, motherfucker. That's what I would love to see, these gangs. I get tired of watching the news in New Orleans and I see these people showing up just beating each other. And I would love to see some, two gangbangers just show up and just hug the fuck out of somebody. Like, damn, motherfucker, you just got hugged. Damn, you feel that joy? Motherfucker. Oh. But sorry about the profanity. Be good to yourselves, man. I bet you deserve it. And if you need me, reach out. I love you. Talk to you guys next week. This has been This Past Weekend.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jonathan Kite, and welcome to Kite Club, a podcast where I'll be sharing thoughts on things like current events, stand-up stories, and 7 ways to pleasure your partner. The answer may shock you. Sometimes I'll interview my friends. Sometimes I won't. And as always, I'll be joined by the voices in my head.
You have 3 new voice messages.
A lot of people are talking about Kite Club. I've been talking about Kite Club for so long, longer than anybody else. So great. Hey, sweetheart, here's the deal. Anyone who doesn't listen to Kite Club is a dodgy bloody wanker. Do you know what I mean?
Hi, I'll take a quarter pounder with cheese and a McFlurry.
Sorry, sir, but our ice cream machine is broken.
No!
I think Tom Hanks just butt-dialed me. Anyway, first rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Second rule of Kite Club is tell everyone about Kite Club. Third rule, like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts or watch us on YouTube, yeah? And yes, don't worry, my Brad Pitt impression will get better.